Now that we had a detailed tour through how Angular works and starts, let's start building our own components. And we can do this by, in the app folder, in the source folder, adding a new component file. Now, we could do this right here or store it in a separate subfolder. I will actually create a subfolder and name it persons, and that name is totally up to you, but I want to create a persons component. Now, you can name this file however you want, but the naming convention is to have the name of your component, then .component, and then .ts. And in there, we now export a class which you also typically name persons component. So first the name of your component with a capital starting character, and then also with a capital starting character, but in the same word, component. Now, here again, to tell Angular that this class should be treated as a component, we add the add component decorator. And here my IDE added the import automatically, but you need to make sure that you do add it as well. You need to add it in every file where you use this. So just because you're already importing component here doesn't mean you don't have to import it here anymore. Every file works on its own, and every dependency of that file, so every object or class you're using from another file, needs to be imported into this file. Now we definitely need a selector here, so our own tag by which we can use that. Now you're relatively free regarding the naming, but it should be a name with a dash in it, so that you have something like app something or my something, so that you're not clashing with default names like h1. So I will name it app persons, and that is kind of the convention. You use app dash as your prefix, and then again your component name. Now I also will add a template URL and point at / to construct a relative path, / persons.component.html. Now that file doesn't exist yet, so let's add a persons.component.html file next to the persons component TypeScript file. And there, I'll add a paragraph where I simply say some persons. Nothing fancy, but it'll do for now. Now, last but not least, let's save these files. And now we need to register this component in our module or in some Angular module. Now let's use the app module for now. And let's add an import here at the top where I import persons component. And you have to make sure that the name you use here matches your class name you used here. So persons component from, and then you point at your file, and this has to be a relative path. So /, and then it's in the persons subfolder, and there persons component, again without .ts, that is added automatically for you. Now we add it to declarations, because we have to declare all the components we are using in this module. We don't add it to Bootstrap because you only add your root component here. The question then, of course, is where will Angular look for the selector of this component then? And the answer is in all other components of this declaration list here, basically. So we can go to the app component HTML file and delete all the default code in there, and now add app-persons as an HTML tag. And if you now saved it all, you will see that if you go back to your browser, you see some persons here. And that, of course, is the content of your own persons component.